What's up, everybody? Sleepy Panda 27 here again with the final Aegis recap of Season 2. We know everything, all the results are in. Last week we knew the results of the Champion League finals, but now we know the results of the relegation tournament. And there's not too much to cover. We already knew that Timos Puffcaps and Brahms Mighty Poros were going to make it from last week, so we knew these two were already in. The results from, well, I guess this is last week at this point because I'm recording this on Friday, which would be Aegis if it didn't end last week. But the results of last week was Victor's Glorious Evolution 3-0ing and Swain's Flock going 3-2 against Barge Chimes to return. Swain's Flock Stolen Conch reverse swept Barge Chimes. So congrats to Conch. And I don't remember who on Victor's Glorious Evolution swept the swept. It was Robomaster. Okay, so Robomaster full swept and then Stolen Conch reverse swept. So congrats to both of those teams. These are the four teams making it out of the relegation bracket into next season's Champion League. And there's not too much to cover besides that, but I want to sort of recap as the final recap. I want to recap the whole story of Aegis so far, sort of go over a few of the predictions that I had and discuss those. So I want to say at the beginning of before any games of the relegation tournament had played, I just wanted to sort of flex that I predicted everything correctly. You could see that the teams I predicted going top four was Timos, Puffcaps, Poros, Evolution, and Flock. And we look, whoa! And I even got them in the right order. So, just a little bit of a flex that my predictions were correct on that. That feels pretty good. And then I also wanted to go over, these are the tier lists I made at the beginning of the season of the Champions League and the Ascension League before anything happened. You'll notice there's a few things that I strongly messed up. It is pretty good, and I've sort of already covered this tier list before, but since we have officially all of the results in, one, these two stayed exactly where they are. Azir Ascended, my team being the winner. Dragons coming in second again. They stay S tier. That was exactly correct. This team was also predicted correctly. This was a bit of a sort of Hail Mary prediction by me because they didn't have any results in the Champions League. Aatrox's Darkin was new to the Champions League this season, but they ended up going exactly fourth. You'll also notice the team that I severely underrated was Nora's Tea Drinkers going third. And I also sort of overrated Victor's Glorious Evolution. Maybe I should have a different color for being incorrect about them. I'll cover them in red if I was incorrect about them. Nora's Tea Drinker should be where Victor's Glorious Evolution is, and Victor's Glorious Evolution should be somewhere in B tier, unordered, right? Like this is the top tier is 1, 2, 3, 4. The top tier is ordered, but the B tier would be unordered in this instance. There's not really a metric by which Evolution did better than Swain's Flock. And then Monkeys was overrated as these two teams got eliminated this season from the Ascension League. So, if we wanted to count how many I got exactly correct, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So I was 50% correct on my predictions for the Champions League. That's not too bad. And if we go to my Ascension League predictions, we can see the massive thing is I severely underrated Timos Puffcaps. Wasn't familiar with any of the players on Timos Puffcaps, and boy, did they prove to me how much they deserve to be in this S tier. This was a severe underrated. And unfortunately, Trundle's Trolls was a little bit overrated. Not too much, though. They would go down into B tier, and Gangplank would be the team that goes down into B tier. I mean A tier. Sorry, Trolls goes down to A tier. Gangplank goes down to B tier. So I also got 50% of this correct. We have the ones incorrect. I correctly predicted the tier of Poros, but you could definitely argue that if we're doing the ordered list, then Poros should be down here, and Chimes should be like one over, in which case the only one I correctly predicted was Garen's Vanguard. But if we're doing just by tiers, if we just go by tiers, I was 50% right. If we go by exact ordering, then Garen's Vanguard was the only one that's correct, and I hit a 1 and 6. So that's just some sort of fun predictions. And now I want to review what is the story of Aegis now. Okay, because at this point we've developed 2 seasons in completion. Where did we start? Where are we going? What does the future look like? And I'm going to tell this through some tier lists here. So this was the Champions League of Season 1 of Aegis. Okay, this was Group 1 and this was Group 2. Note that the teams here, namely Poros, is a different for this from Season 1 is a different Poros than we see now. Maokai Saplings is a different Maokai Saplings than we see now. I believe Swain's Flock and Victor's Glorious Evolution went under some roster changes, but they were still the same actual teams. But these are two completely different teams here. But this is what our Group 1 and Group 2 from the Champions League looked like. And the results of this was our top 4 teams and the people who made it out of what would have been the relegation tournament were Azir's Ascended, Lee Sin's Dragons, the different Maokai Saplings. Remember, this is a different Maokai Saplings than Season 2. Dravid's Biggest Fan, Victor's Glorious Evolution, Monkeys, Swain's Flock, and Aatrox's Darken is the only team that made it in from the Ascension League. So Aatrox's Dark is the only team that ascended from Season 1. So these were the teams that were invited back to Season 2. These are the teams that should have made the Champions League in Season 2. Well, what happened is that Dravid's Biggest Fans decided not to return, and this Maokai Saplings team also decided not to return. Okay? So we had 6 teams from Season 1 coming in, with Aatrox's Darken ascending. I'll put a little golden arrow to show that they ascended. And so the relegation tournament needed to fill in 2 new slots for Season 2. If we wanted 8 teams, we had to get them in from the qualification tournament for Season 2 had to fill in some new teams here. So what teams did we fill in? Well, these were our groups for this. The new teams, remember, I'm going to do a golden arrow. Aatrox's team ascended, and I will do a blue star with Maokai Saplings. Came from the qualification tournament, a new Maokai Saplings. It's sort of funny because if we look, Maokai Saplings was there, but this is a different team, just under using the same logo. And then Nora's Tea Drinkers also made it in from the qualification tournament. So our new teams were this, and this is what our Season 2 teams ended up looking like. And at the end of it all, how are we now? What is our teams that are going to be presumably not coming back, but invited to next season's Champions League? Well, this is what it looked like. We actually had 2 newcomers end up in top 4. Both the Tea Drinkers and Aatrox's Darken ended up top 4. Both of these are new to the Champions League this season. Aatrox's Darken came from the Ascension. Nora's Tea Drinkers came from the qualification tournament, filling in a slot because some of the old Champions League teams decided not to come back. And what teams got relegated or came back through the relegation? Well, Victor's Glorious Evolution made it back through the relegation, and Swain's Flock made it back through the relegation, and we had 2 teams that ascended. We had Timo's Puffcaps ascend, and we had Poros ascend. And this is where we're at for next season's Champions League, assuming all teams come back. I don't know that all teams will, but these are the teams that are invited back to the Champions League next season. Any team that doesn't come will have to be filled in from the Champions League. And it's looking pretty good. For the record, the teams that got eliminated, just so we also have that information, was Monkeys got eliminated and Saplings got eliminated. So they were a newcomer to the league. They came in through the qualification tournament and they ended up getting eliminated. Monkeys is actually a team we've had for 2 seasons and they ended up getting eliminated. So if they want to participate in the Champions League, they'll either have to hope that a team decides not to come back and make it through the qualification tournament, or they'll have to ascend next season and make it through the relegation bracket. And that's pretty much the end of the recap. I think maybe if I want to be spicy, I can create a quick tier list here for these teams based on their sort of objective performance here. So let's go ahead and get this link back and create, add a row below, add a row below. We're going to have, I don't know, let's change the color of this real quick to like a green here. We have S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier. Our S tier stays the exact same in this case. Azir's Ascended, and Azir's Ascended being a 2-time winner, and Lee Sin's Dragon being a 2-time finalist. There's nobody else that can be placed in S tier. And I think if I'm going to place things, I think that Aatrox's Darkin, based on their track record, deserves to get A tier. I'm just going to put the top 4 as it is. I think that neither of these two teams, neither Victor's Glorious Evolution or Swain's Flock, have made it to top 4 before. If we look at previous Aegis seasons, you can see Swain's Flock and Victor's Glorious Evolution were not in the top 4 either. So because of that, I'm actually going to leave the top 4 exactly as it is. And I'm going to put these two teams as the next teams, which means that this is exactly the tier list I would make if I was being completely objective, right? Just based on previous results. Now, I do think that Victor's Glorious Evolution has kind of had a bad rap here. They've been they haven't made it to top 4 either season, but I sort of think that they're a top 4 team. It's hard to say because all teams in the top 4 right now are really good, but I think that this team is at least on par. Like, if Victor's Glorious Evolution wins this season, I'm not surprised at all. I think they have amazing players. And the other team that I think is being underrated here is Teemo's Puffcaps. I think Teemo's Puffcaps had a performance in the Ascension League that I'm not sure that I think I wouldn't necessarily know that any team could replicate. I think there's a very solid chance that Teemo's Puffcaps is actually the best team here, and we wouldn't know it, right? So I think if I'm rating them objectively, just because they haven't been to the Champions League yet to sort of prove themselves, I'm putting them bottom tier here. But I think that if we were going by skill level, I sort of think I would probably put Swain's Flock and Puffcaps down here, and I'd put Teemo's Puffcaps probably usurping one of these two teams. I don't know which team because I think they're both really good. And maybe I would leave it like this. Maybe I'd be like, hey, I think that I can't take these two teams out of S tier. Both teams being 100% rate and finalists so far, they just deserve it, quite frankly, regardless of skill level. Like, honestly, I think I wouldn't be surprised if any of the next 4 teams down ended up winning, right? But I think, like, if we're going to place an S tier based on results, these have to be here. I think that Teemo's Puffcaps might be an A-level team, though. And I wouldn't be surprised if they usurp the throne. So I think if I were being a bit more biased, I might leave it like my tier list like this. But I think if we're going based on objective performance, I have to leave it here. And yeah, that's the story for the recap. That's where we're leaving it off. This is where we're going to start the next season in this state right here, at least in this state, with these teams coming back to the Champions League, or at least being invited back. And I don't know that there's much else to say. It was a great season. And yeah, I think Aegis is really fun. If you're someone who's watched this and wants to join, please make a team. It's like pretty much doesn't take any effort to at least participate in the qualification tournament. So, make a team, have some fun. Let's hopefully get all 8 teams in the Ascension League next season. That would be great. And that's all I have to say. Thank you for watching these recaps. Thank you for sticking with me this season. It's been a great time. I think I will be making a podcast episode that will be coming out in the next week as the final podcast episode. And that's that. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this journey, and I'll see you for the next season of Aegis.